Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command World War II, World at War with our Allied playthrough. In the last episode, we reached August 15th, 1941. Barbarossa still hasn't started. Now, 2 months late, almost, we're about to hit end turn, and if they don't do it now, we're going to reach the point where Barbarossa itself is supposed to end. So that's pretty good. Combine that with the fact that the Chinese have been dominating the Japs. The Japs have not been able to maintain their front in Manchuria, and the Soviets have been mobilizing. Finally, they're up to 56%. I believe it's 90% to get ready for the war. I was looking in the manual recently. America finally up to 45%, started lend-leasing to the UK. Oh my god, we were so late on this one. It's very, very upsetting. Libya's taken. Ethiopia's gonna come next. Greece is still holding strong, but Yugoslavia finally has the Germans turning on them and is probably on the verge of death. There's not a lot I can do there. I'm not willing to invest the MPPs it would take to keep this alive. I don't have the MPPs as the UK, unfortunately. However, this turn is already done and spoken for. So let's go ahead and hit end turn and see what the AI has. Chinese morale boosted by the liberation of Peking. US oil embargo hits Japanese morale. Japanese morale suffers from the loss of Peking. Also, I confirmed, looking in the manual, that there are several tiers at which national morale affects unit morale. Allies liberate Indochina. That was quick. But I probably still won't have the Hanoi Kunming Railroad. However, Allied vessels. So I wonder who gets Indochina then. Is it going to be China that gets them because they liberated them? So Communist China and Finland are moving towards the Allies. Hell yeah. Good to see progress. Pierre Laval is shot and injured by Paul Colette at Versailles. What? Research. So, yeah, America sending... I upped the amount of Lend-Lease to 30% of America's collected MPPs. 88 MPPs being sent to the UK. Oh my god, that's going to be so helpful. That's going to be so fucking helpful for the UK. Oh, wait, Hanoi Kunming is still going. Huh. I wonder if it's because we reclaimed Hanoi that quickly? I'm not sure. But it's still going. Maybe it's because, like, there wasn't enough time for it to stop. Yep, Soviet mobilization still increasing because Japan is not garrisoning all of these locations. That's really good. The longer they put off Barbarossa and the longer the mobilization goes up, the sooner we can get the Soviets in on their own terms. And we're approaching the winter, you know? Well, I mean, we're still in summer, but they're running out of time to make a fuck ton of progress. I see a lot of operational movement going on. Maybe they are looking to start Barbarossa August 29th. I'm not sure, but they just kind of pulled out of Yugoslavia, a lot of the Germans. I don't know why. They're still probably more concerned with Russia. Right, we're being bombed. Yeah, I mean, Yugoslavia still doesn't stand a chance. Like, there's not enough anti-air power to survive the enemy air power here. It's just, it's a mess. But they are operationally moving, which is good to pay attention to. Oh, nice! Hurting the enemy planes without even anti-air. Okay, the Panzers are here, though. And the Panzers are hurting us like crazy. Okay, so they're still taking Yugoslavia seriously. They're just doing it with tanks, which is way more efficient than what they were doing before. It's a lot of Italians that moved, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a lot of the Italians that moved. The Italians are more concerned with Greece. Belgrade's gonna die. Maybe not this turn, but Belgrade's gonna die. Nothing I can do to save that. Sad, but it is the way it is. This dude's still running around. Okay, a lot of aerial movement over by Japan for sure. We're getting closer to December as well, which is when Pearl Harbor's supposed to happen, which they'll need to do to try to save their morale, which is plummeting, all things considered. Embargo aside, 34th Army suffers attrition, hell yeah. Oil embargo hits Japanese morale, hell yeah. Destroys for base agreement, oh, there was one more destroyer, hell yeah. Allied vessels blockade Bordeaux, yeah, Bordeaux is just oh no! Look what's here. There's an entire German army that has arrived in Brest, finally, to come deal with the partisans that have been here forever. And of course, it's a German army. Osanaka Corps destroyed. Okay. Saipan has enemy special forces. Oh! Amphibious transports in the Pacific. Garibaldi near Bucharest. War spotted near Presrov. Okay. Decision. The Royal Navy is recommissioning and refitting the following ships for active service, which will become available by late 1941, with most ships only ready by 1942 and 43. The Royal Sovereign Battleship, the Indomitable Carrier, the Truant Sub, the Hotspur Destroyer, London Heavy Cruiser, Sussex Heavy Cruiser, Tally-Ho Sub. Would you like to, yes, send these naval reinforcements as they become available to the Pacific, or keep them, no, near the home islands in the European theater? Ooh. No additional notes. Okay, so I understand here. I understand. So this stuff is supposed to be in the Pacific because it's supposed to be helping you and being useful to dealing with the Japanese fleets in the Pacific. And now that is very noteworthy, especially so because right now we're pretty much successfully dominating the Atlantic without assistance. Like, we don't actually need any assistance dominating the Atlantic with the Brits. The Brits have it under control with everything that they have already in the UK. So do we want 2 subs, which would be useful? I learned how to raid with subs, by the way, guys. Remember how in the beginning of the game I wasn't raiding with subs, and I'm still not because I didn't understand how to do it. I learned I was apparently doing it right. I didn't see the results for whatever reason. There's no raider mode for subs. They just raid automatically if they're not in silent mode. So I know how to raid with subs. Raiding the Germans is not going to be very likely or doable, but in the Pacific against the Japanese, it could be handy. I've been thinking about this. I've been actually scratching my head about this because I know the Americans don't have a lot of ships right now. They can make them, but they don't have a lot right now. The Australians, the Brits have some in Australia, New Zealand, not a lot. But getting the Royal Sovereign Battleship, an Indomitable Carrier, 2 subs, heavy cruisers, and a destroyer over there with the Brits, who can be funded to keep these things up to snuff by the Americans with Lend-Lease. Theoretically, I'm thinking this would be way better in the Pacific than here. We dominate the seas already over here. The Japanese Navy is now probably the biggest threat. There's also Mussolini's Navy. That's less important with everything that's going on. The Japanese Navy, though, like the Japanese land force, they're fucked up. But the Japanese Navy, that's where we're going to have problems. So this is exactly what I needed. A couple of extra ships arriving. America Lend-Lease to help them function. I definitely like this. Yes, we're going to send these to the Pacific. We're going to need them there more. The Germans are enhancing their naval base at Saint Nazaire for use by U-boats and possibly surface vessels too. We could attempt to seriously damage its naval base in a bold strike by packing HMS Campbelltown full of explosives and sending it to Saint Nazaire. At Saint Nazaire, we'll attempt to explode while wedged into the dock gates, hopefully destroying the port facilities. At the same time, the HMS Campbelltown attacks Saint Nazaire. Commandos will land to disrupt the enemy defenses. If this operation is successful, it could prevent the Germans from using the port for some time to come, possibly permanently. Would you like to prepare for a raid for 20 MPPs? Do I get this ship if I don't do this? Because I'll tell you this, I don't need to raid Saint Nazaire. The Germans have no control over that region whatsoever. I don't need to raid this. So I think I'm going to say no, and hopefully I get this ship, and hopefully. So let's go ahead and we'll just say no. And we'll see if that ends up leading to anything. So we have acquired now the first tanks that are going to Halifax, Canada. We're going to go ahead and deploy these here. We also have the second Red Fighters. Hell yeah, a second fighter group, which we desperately need. The first one's up here by Smolensk. Pretty nice place for it. The second one, I don't know exactly where to put it. The range is going to be tough to work with. Somewhere just behind the Dnieper for now, where it can have pretty good coverage in the south. Let's put it on the spot that literally says Dnieper. We're gonna need to get this upgraded, that's for sure. How's supply down here? Because I know we can't see because they're not in the war. Oh my god, the Soviets jumped from 56% mobilization to 71%. They have produced 329, well, not that much exactly, but they have produced so many MPPs. when they get to 100%, they're going to rival the UK with Lend-Lease, I feel like, at this rate. Okay, so I looked, and it is China that gets Indochina, which is, you know, unfortunate because the Chinese can't work with the British or anyone else with supply, and the last thing China needs is more land units, because, like, once Japan falls to China, you know, because that's probably how this is going to work with how this is going so far, where the hell are the Chinese even going to go? They'd have to load up on, like, long-range amphibious transports and then go land somewhere. And for that, we need tons of actual supply for that. We need tons of capability, which we don't have because we haven't done that research, because researching with them is hard. Once Japan's done, you know, China's going to become mostly useless. The Americans aren't going to need a lot of stuff over here, I think. Now, they may want some things, because if whoever liberates a location gets it, that presents an issue. Because, for example, what if the Chinese liberate Manila? Well, we might not even need to do that, because the Chinese might just be able to overwhelm the Japanese on their home islands, and then everything might just be released by default. But the Chinese might just get all of this, right? Which would be really, really weird. It wouldn't be where I want the points going, although then again, America doesn't really have to worry about points, because America just makes so many MPPs already. By the way, they went up another 2%, they're up to 47% mobilization. So how much did the Soviets go up? 56 to 71, what is that, 15%? If this keeps going, we have like 2 turns until the Soviets will prepare for war, 3 until they enter it of their own accord. And if the Germans still aren't ready by then, I mean, shit, you're not going to take Greece in 3 turns. No way. There's no way they're taking Greece in 3 turns. Chinese national morale has spiked up now to 118%, meaning they now have a 1.1 times multiplier to their unit morale. The UK at 93%, I believe that's low enough that they have a 0.95 times multiplier to their units, which means that their units are losing about 5% of their morale because the national morale for the Brits is just so fucked up. But China's doing great. India's still at 100, so they're base level. And Japanese national morale for their units is getting really fucking nerfed. The lowest nerf comes at 40% national morale. As you see, they're still plummeting, partially due to the oil embargo and partially due to we keep liberating things. I don't really know, again, how much of an effect the national morale of the oil embargo has, but it definitely probably hurts a lot. And Italy is at 80%, which is, I believe, around where the second debuff kicks in. If we take a look at Japanese convoy income, we can see that from the DEI and Manchuria, they were collecting about 120 MPPs combined. Seems to be roughly that way. After they lost the DEI convoys, they instead gained Indochina, which seemed to keep them in that same spot. But now they don't have the DEI, they don't have Indochina, and they don't have Manchuria's Port Arthur income route. So their MPPs that they've been gaining from convoys, which has maintained about a steady 120 the entire game, is now at 0. So the Japanese are now missing 120 MPPs every turn. They already couldn't keep up. God, the Japanese have just seen so much success. I only wish the Chinese could get a navy. More than a light cruiser. They can. They probably get more light cruisers if I turn off the soft build limits or the hard ones so they can get more, but that would be hard. They're very limited in things that they can do that are not land, which is unfortunate. There's also something I want to look at in the Pacific, and this pretty much confirms my worst fears. These special forces over here, I don't know if they spawned them for free or if the Japanese moved them here. Judging by the fact that we found the special forces on the Mariana Islands, the Japanese part of the Mariana Islands here, I'm guessing either they spawned there for them or the Japs had this at the beginning, because they are getting amphibious transports into position to take all the islands that they should historically be taking. This one looks like it's getting ready to pounce on this island belonging to the UK, in fact, and that has some NM value. The Mariana Islands one will probably end up stomping Guam, which is unfortunate. I love me some Guam. Guam is great. I'm sure they have stuff off the coast of Manila. Indochina, by the way, even though it's liberated, as we can see, it's still occupied in a lot of instances. So we have to free it the whole fucking way, which is going to be fun. Thank God we still have the Hanoi-Kunming Railway, because that's just free MPPs spawning for China, which again, I don't know that China's going to need it. I really don't know that China's going to need it. America has finished a bunch of techs recently, so we can go ahead and invest in their techs. I'm going to go for AA defense. I feel like that's way more important than ASW for America specifically, so I want to get started on that first. That leaves us with 124 MPPs as America. We would have more, however, as a reminder, since it's still so brand new, we're sending 30% of our MPPs over to the UK, which right now amounts to 90 MPPs this upcoming turn. And as America's mobilization goes up, this is just going to increase. Okay, we're about 47%. Let's just round up and say 50%. If at 50% mobilization, we are able to send 90 MPPs to the UK, that would mean when America's in the war, theoretically, with no further industrial improvements, which we will be getting, America could send about 180, maybe up to 200 MPPs to the UK, which is about what the UK pulls in normally. However, we will have to keep in mind that the UK will probably end up having to send some to the USSR, probably a lot, because that's going to be more important of a front than anything the UK is managing and capable of doing. Unfortunately, we will for now just take these MPPs remaining with America. We're going to upgrade the Tuscaloosa heavy cruiser with all the upgrades that it can get, and we need to get these other ships back in position. So I remember where they were. I remember what their positions were, because we want to get this fleet over to Hawaii to secure it as soon as possible based on what's happening and what will be happening, because unfortunately the Japs are still going to prioritize everything over here. They're going to lose stuff back here. Their national morale has to hit 0 for them to surrender. So we're either going to have to make it to Tokyo, or because they're not going to fall to 0 because they lose the mainland of Asia and the rest of Indochina. Unfortunately, that's just not how it's going to work. The front with the UK is just getting more and more complicated every turn. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to deal with China first. Now, again, I'm loving that we still have the Hanoi-Kunming Railway. Don't know how the hell that's the case, but, you know, here we are. We're going to take... I really wish we had mobility on the Chinese, but we don't. We don't. Are we researching it? Oh, we're not even researching it. That's how, like, kind of fucked we've been. We also haven't needed mobility, but we should not see a whole lot of anything getting in our way here. I'm a little nervous about the fact that this railway is cut. I don't know if it makes any sense to be nervous, but I am. I am a little bit nervous about this. So I'm going to go just do myself a flavor and make sure the whole Hanoi-Kunming Railway is in place there. Because I want to make sure that we get these free 60 MPPs for as long as is humanly possible. Now, supply here is really going to start sucking. So our advance might slow down, especially because I just don't have HQs over there. We could probably get an HQ over there. I specifically moved one to the... I have 2 actually. On the railway, because I knew this front was closing, so we were not going to need any over here. And I knew we already had 2 up here. Send another one, and we're probably good up there, so we can send one down south. I don't know what value experience on an HQ has, so we'll probably, like, maybe that's like a really good thing. So I'd probably want this one to be further up north, where we're going to have a lot more active fighting against the Japanese. And the one that's like worse off will probably head south. For now, we do need to still finish off the 34th Army. So let's go ahead and give it to the honor to this corps, the XIV Corps. And voila. The Japanese have now completely lost their foothold in mainland China. Well, there's Manchukuo. However, the Japanese, I always say Manchuria because it's easy to say. If you count this, that's different, but this is, I don't know if you count this. Either way, this is gonna fall as well. So you need to get on the rail now as well. You are gonna go garrison Shanghai for me, thank you very much. Go say Shanghai to Shanghai. Ha ha ha. One thing I realized, I had this on my mind the whole time. I was realizing that, like, I was gonna take the garrison at Canton and move that to Hong Kong to defend it. But I'm realizing they're only gonna have 3 supply if they do that, because of how this works. So I'm realizing I realistically I can't do that. That's not easy to do. So I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with these garrisons later, especially once Hong Kong's in the war. Hopefully maybe the UK can just quickly pump out a garrison to step on it, because I don't know if they're going to give me, they're probably not going to give me the historical Canadians that are supposed to be there. Probably not. This game leaves a lot of those details out. Canadians and Indians and some Brits were supposed to be there. That should at least be a core or something, right? They probably won't give that to me. So hopefully I can pump out quickly like a Hong Kong garrison, because I wouldn't put it past the Japanese to try to land there really, really quickly. Maybe I could just temporarily put the Chinese one there just in case. But all this other stuff is good. I assume this stuff will close off automatically, but I don't like looking at it. There you go. Now it's reclaimed perfectly. Voila. All right. So if it looks like a shadow, that means it has a rail line on it. I'll just go step you on Nanjing for now, for not too much of a reason. Now that we have succeeded here, we want to take this opportunity to reinforce anybody that can be reinforced, get them back up to the strength that they can get to, and we also need to get some upgrades, like some infantry weapons over here on this. Holy shit, what number is that, Corps? Oh my god. We got to get upgrades on this army. Some things are able to get elite reinforcements, which is kind of like a waste of MPPs. But I don't think China's going to have a waste of MPPs, getting free MPPs from the Hanoi Kunming Railway. The Burma Road's going to open. Quite frankly, if I have to actually invest constant MPPs into the Burma Road, like if I have to literally have America or the UK take MPPs out of their own MPPs and send them to China, and that's how the Burma Road works, even if the Hanoi Kunming Railroad shuts down when that opens up, I'm not doing it. Because China doesn't fucking need it. Everybody else needs it. Because if we had enough MPPs for the UK, this wouldn't be a problem. We would have had troops here already. We just could never afford to do it. And we kind of can. We just don't have a lot to send there. We have a special forces, a corps, an HQ. What else? And another corps. And this tank needs some time to get ready. But it's going to take forever to get Canadians over here. And now I have this whole problem where I have a front open in Brest. It's been there. And I can land someone there. I can guarantee land someone there this turn and open a new front with the enemies. Just as it's September 12th. Just as they are now bypassing their historical endpoint of Barbarossa, USSR is getting super strong. And I feel like we're in a great place, right? But this isn't like the only chance we have. You know, if I fail to open a front here because of my lack of money and because I've been prioritizing keeping Greece open and preparing Malaya against the Japs, this isn't it. You know, they may still move. We may still get another partisan at Brest. But more importantly, Spain is about to enter the war. They're at 89%. If what I read in the manual is correct, any one more Axis success of moving the Spanish into the Axis, and like if, for example, this next turn, they move them 6% towards, the Axis influence will be over 90%. One more turn, and Spain will guarantee join, because apparently they only need to hit 90%, not 100%, to actually start mobilizing for war. So that's a front, because we have the Gibraltar right here. I don't expect the Spanish Navy to really do much against the British Navy we have here. This is pretty much unstoppable so long as we don't go traipsing it about in the Mediterranean like a bunch of idiots. We could easily land in Spain and invade from there. And, well, we still couldn't really get these guys over there. Not easily. We'd have to escort them. I'm still more concerned / happier with Greece. If we get more HQs up there, the supply will improve, and then I don't think the Germans will ever push us out. Even with all the panzers in the world, given the Metaxas line has held so strong. But as we see, more options are opening even if this one closes. But this is just me emphasizing how much I don't need MPPs for China, so I'm not going to give them anything that actually costs me anything in the future here. It's just, it wouldn't be worth it. It would not be worth it. Looking at China's MPP gain, this is a lot of information I know, but the green one is collected income. Ignore blue and red. That's irrelevant. Well, I guess it's not irrelevant, but, you know, the red is lost units, so this is how much of our shit's getting attacked. Not completely destroyed, but even in terms of things that we have to, like, reinforce, for example. And then how much we spend on units as well, showing in blue. But green is collected income. You can see it was very steady while we were trying so long to make any progress at all. Then you can see when we started making progress and taking things back. We have a steady increase going from about 200, slowly going up, passing 240, and then right here, ignore this line down, that's just because of a lack of calculation. Right here, we have, holy crap, looks like something like 260, 280 almost. Probably also because now they have like stuff from Indochina and stuff. So I think China is officially generating more MPPs than Japan is in total. And that's good. So good, in fact, that it inspires me to continue our attack. Let's go take this core right here and let's move it up to further surround Mukden. And we can see at Helsinki, this is one of the places that they have to keep garrisoned for the Soviets. So the fact that we can kind of cut around it's pretty good. We can completely cut off Mukden at this rate. Just as we completely cut off Johol, its supply values have plummeted. And there's just this maritime bomber here just being stupid and staying way too close to us. I just noticed I can actually take this core and move it back a step, so we'll go ahead and do that just to ensure that it is in a better location. There's also force marching I could do that I haven't been utilizing very much, but a lot of these situations I have low supply and I just don't want to force march or can't because of the supply situation, so that's a factor. Oh, would you look at that? Originally, I could have moved this all the way up here, but I guess the garrison, I don't know, maybe there's some zone of control issues that stop me from moving all the way up there. Oh, I can still move you around, that's good. So Port Arthur is very important. This is their final remaining static convoy line. We naturally want to hold it. However, I don't fear losing it anytime soon. So I'm going to do some other things instead. The first thing I'm going to do is take the L Corps here. Oh, the L Corps. I see them come up so much. We're going to go around the Mukden Corps here so that we can go ahead and attack the 12th garrison, dealing 3 damage, taking no damage. The tanks can also work their way around there as well, completely cutting off Mukden from any semblance of connection to the outside world, which is very, very nice. We're going to take this corps, we're going to send that forward to take care of attacking these enemy planes. We're just trying to disrupt them. I'm not trying to do massive amounts of damage to them because we have a lot of units that are still just like trying to catch up first and foremost. We're going to take these tanks. They have no upgrades, right? Yeah. Take these tanks, these light tanks. We're going to drive them around Mukden to completely surround and attack that enemy garrison again, dealing 1 damage, taking none. Beautiful. Beautiful. I only wish we had the tank upgrades, but we're not even researching that because we have so few tanks. Now, okay, so we can get more armies coming up the rear. However, I kind of want to reinforce them, but at the same time, we just don't need to. I'll take the Special Forces, I'll move it to Showa Steel. I'll take the 41st Army, and I'll move it up here. And with that, that actually kind of like frees up this army to do things, which I didn't really calculate. Either way, not too much was lost. Let's take the 12th Army, move it closer to the enemy's 2nd Kwantung Army. Let's go ahead and attack them. We've dealt like 2 or 3 damage. Nice. The corps were not really able to do a whole lot due to the situation they were in. We're going to reinforce the 5th Army up here near Peking. This heavy artillery, I'm going to force march it to get it out of these mountains. 79 readiness, 107 morale. Let's see what force marching does to that. Oh, it fucking destroys it. So, yeah, force marching should be used sparingly. And I think it got rid of all the shells that the arty had as well. I just wanted to test this out at least once before I started using it on, like, Brits, who could very much suffer more for doing it. Okay, good to know. Glad that I learned that. That was not really an expensive way to learn, to be honest, because Johol's gonna fall with or without this artillery very, very quickly. Let's go ahead and take these engineers, and we're going to keep moving them northeast. If they're going to be needed anywhere, it's going to be in Korea. This lets me know not to force march any HQs if that's even possible. I don't think that's even possible. Yeah, no. So let's go ahead and take the Zoo HQ. We're going to move that northeast. We got to keep something going with this main offensive line over here. We will take this corps, and we will attack the 2nd Kwantung Army. Unfortunately, dealing nothing but taking damage. No supply in this region. Interesting. We'll go ahead and we'll attack with the other corps as well, dealing 2 damage. Alright, that kind of makes up for things. I'll stay in our entrenchments for the time being. Our garrison, 4th garrison, is going to keep moving to Tsingtao. We're going to take the 2nd corps, and, well, first we're going to move the 1st anti-air forward. Then we're going to move the corps up behind them. No operating for you. We have too many bodies as is, so once again, we can take advantage of this situation to do some other things. So let's see. Elite reinforcements, cool. No matter the cost, let's get it. Because, again, we have MPPs galore. We don't need to dump it all into research right now. I mean, we could dump some into research because we just, like, we have so much available. Never mind, I lied, because we're actually at our total research funding anyway, so there is no research we can do. So there really isn't a lot better I can do with my MPPs right now anyway. So we're going to go ahead and just get elite reinforcements for literally anybody and everybody that can get any. It's very expensive to do this. They're more expensive than regular reinforcements, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and upgrade infantry weapons into some of these other things. I can start giving these infantry weapons to garrisons and stuff as well. We have one shell that we can use on Haikou. We'll go ahead and use that. We'll take the 68th Army here, which does have weapons. Go ahead and attack. That was ultra disappointing. I will go ahead and move the 1st Army into position to assist with taking Haikou, because we're still gonna need to take it. It's a secondary supply location. It's important. We're going to want to chase them out of there eventually. We don't need to move particularly fast with any of our units, but we do want to keep moving. We're going to take the 1st Corps here and start just moving them southwest rather than operating them. We're not in any rush. We don't need to move very fast heading in any direction right now, because we have an overwhelming amount of bodies. We have more than we need, and we're limited by other things such as supply and mobility. The main thing we want to actually mobilize would be HQs. I'll actually move this Corps off of Nanjing. We're going to move this Corps because these guys are just going to head northwest. Looks like this guy is also free to go any which way he wants. We're going to send him north because that's just easier for him. Some of these other units will probably go south to ensure that we take Indochina, and then we can operate and move and do things from there. Due to how generally good supply already is in every region that we're fighting, I'm going to go ahead and just start walking the Chen HQ down southwest towards these fronts. And the Zhu HQ is actually just going to stay where it is for right now, because these units, while they're here, they need to stay in supply before we can start getting them into other locations. This leaves me with 112 MPPs remaining for China at the end of the turn. I'm going to take 50 of them, and I'm going to continue the work of getting Communist China to join China. They might as well focus on their own backyard. We have 62 MPPs remaining. I am going to take that to purchase the final garrison that we can within our hard limits, because we're going to have a coastline that we need to garrison now. Too bad Indochina can't get any garrisons, only corps and armies. Also, side note, I noticed that whenever you have production discounts, for example, like on corps, 135 rather than 150, it does not apply to your miners. So as the UK, the things I've been doing, like buying Greeks and stuff, it's actually more expensive than buying British. Fun fact. Anyway, let's go ahead and upgrade this. 55 MPPs to get it with these upgrades. Purchase the final garrison we can get. And then that's it. That is everything we are going to do with China for this turn. And that is, I believe, beyond my usual episode time. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. I will take on the rest of this turn in the next episode. Definitely interesting things occurring. Dealing with the British and everything is just going to be such a headache. Very strategic, important moment thing happening, especially with Barbarossa. If it doesn't occur, you know, the Soviets' entrance just being like 3 turns away at this rate. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.